Peace, peace. This your host, CH Shalom, and this is the Cosmon Teachings in the words of YEHOVAH and his angel ambassadors from the Cosmon Bible OSIRIS. And the topic of discussion today is going to be called the false story of Genesis chapter 1-9. These stories were made up mainly by Osiris, being that he was the sole interpreter for DYUS words. The origin of these stories going back to around 3500 BC, during the pre-dynastic times of KEMET, during the Horus kings, and the pre-dynastic times of Sumer, during the Urartu period, which is around 6,500 years ago, during the 23rd arc cycle from 3953 BC to 1553 BC, the length of the 23rd arc cycle after the creation of man. From that time coming down to the present, this story has been in existence. Now, Book of Wars against YEHOVAH chapter 29 verse 1-44. So here is the Osirian Bible of Arabia, India, and China of that day. Verse 1. On the following day, the three false gods, Osiris and Tin and Sudga, wrote their account, each in their own way. And when they were read, Osiris stood clearer than the others. But nevertheless, Tin's and Sudga's had much of merit. So it came to pass, Osiris' account was adopted with interpolations from the others. So here is stating that after they compiled their stories together, Osiris' story came out the best and was used overall. Verse 2. This then is the complete report to wit. So here's the story that they put together, which is Genesis chapter 1 to chapter 9 in the King James Bible. Verse 3. These are the times of the earth and heaven when created, the time the Lord God created them. And the Lord God formed the man out of the dust of the earth, and quickened him through his nostrils with the breath of life, and man became a living creature. Verse 4. And God caused mist to rise up from the waters, and spread over the earth, and rained upon it. And he caused trees and herbs to grow up out of the ground, everything that is pleasant for the sight, and good for food. Thus out of the ground the Lord God caused man to come forth, being of the earth of the land of Eden, in parentheses, Spear. Verse 5. To dress the land and keep it pleasant, the Lord God commanded man, saying, This shall be thy labor, in which thou shalt be perfected unto everlasting life. Of all things in the land of Eden may thou freely take and enjoy. Verse 6. And man prospered on the earth for a long season, and he was naked and not ashamed. And God planted a tree of knowledge in the land of Eden. And he said unto man, This tree have I planted, partake thou not of it, for it pertains to life and death. Verse 7. And God called the name of the first man Asu, in parentheses, which is Adam. Asu is the Vedic term. And the Lord God caused man to name all things on the earth, and in the waters, and in the air above the earth. And whatsoever man calleth every living creature, that was the name thereof. Verse 8. And the Lord God caused Asu to fall into a trance, and an angel of heaven came and stood by his side. And the Lord God drew from the flesh and from the bones and from the blood of Asu, or Adam, and thus made woman, and brought her to Adam. Verse 9. And the Lord God repeated his commandment unto woman, saying, Thou shalt sojourn for a season on the earth, and cleave unto Adam, for he is thy husband, and thou art his wife. And thou shalt partake of all things on the face of the earth, except the tree of life, which is both good and evil. For in the day thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. Verse 10. But because of the serpent, in parentheses, the earth, of the woman, she hearkened unto him. And he said unto the woman, I say unto thee, in the day thou eatest thereof, thou shalt have thy eyes opened, and shalt become as goddess, creating offspring. Verse 11. And the woman was more easily persuaded than man, for she had confidence in the serpent, and they partook of the fruit thereof. And of a truth her eyes were opened, and she beheld her nakedness. Verse 12. And presently they heard the Lord God walking in Eden, and they hid themselves in the bushes. And the Lord God said, Where art thou, Adam? And Adam said, Because we heard thee walking, we hid ourselves, for we were naked. Verse 13. And the Lord God said, Who told thee thou wert naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I told thee thou should not eat? Adam said, The woman thou givest me to be with led me, saying, Behold, it is good fruit, and we ate thereof. Verse 14. And the Lord God said, Woman, what hast thou done? And the woman answered, saying, The serpent beguiled me. And the Lord God said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art accursed, and thou shalt not rise up from the earth, but return to the dust whence thou came. Verse 15. Unto the woman the Lord God said, Because thou hast conceived, thou shalt have great sorrow, and sorrow bringing forth children. Thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And I will put enmity between the serpent and thine offspring, and the flesh shall call one way, which is unto the earth, but the soul of man shall call unto me, the Lord God. And though the serpent bite, yet man shall bruise him and subdue him. Verse 16. And God taught man to make coats of skins, and be clothed. And the Lord God said, Lest man partake further, becoming as one of us, he shall go out of Eden, where I created him. So he drove man out of Eden backward, and gave him cherubs to hold him on every side, to preserve unto man the tree of life, that man might not only fulfill the spirit, but the flesh also. Verse 17. When Osiris had gone thus far, Sutga interposed, saying, If we say, becoming as one of us, will not man say, Behold, there are more gods than the Lord God? And that's exactly what we say today when we read the scriptures. God said, Let us make man, so there had to be more than one God. And here it is revealing where these mistakes are coming from, being the works of DYUS interpreted by Osiris, Tien, and Sutga. Verse 18. Tien said, Because DYUS said, Let us make man, shall we not use us in this instance? Bringing up the matter again. Verse 19. Osiris said, Hear me, my brothers, yet further, for I previously found a way out, for I have divided the Lord from God. That is to say, verse 20, And the Lord God said, Because man hath learned good and evil, I am as twine unto him, for I am Lord of the earth and God of heaven, and that which is on earth is the Lord's, and that which is in heaven is God's. So here Osiris just separated the two titles, Lord and God, and made Lord the name for him on earth, and made God the name for DYUS in heaven. Now as we move along with the story, verse 21, And Adam called his wife Eve, in parentheses, we it, for she was the fountain of all men. And Eve brought forth a son, Cain, saying, I have begotten a son from the Lord. And she brought forth another son, Abel. And the firstborn was begotten in darkness, but the second of light of the Lord. And the Lord had more respect unto the second, Abel, than unto the first, Cain. Verse 22. In course of time, Cain brought of the fruit of the ground, and offered it unto the Lord. And Abel brought for the Lord as his offerings the firstlings of his flocks. And Cain perceived that the Lord had more respect for his brother, and Cain was wroth, and his countenance fell. Verse 23. And the Lord said unto Cain, Why art thou jealous? If thou dost well, shall thou not be accepted? And if thou dost not well, sin lies at the door. Verse 24. But Cain would not be reconciled, in parentheses, because of darkness in him. And when he and his brother were walking in the field, Cain turned upon Abel and slew him. Verse 35. God said, Behold, darkness is between men. The sons begotten in darkness fall upon him begotten in light. And it shall come to pass on earth from this time forth that the righteous shall be persecuted by the unrighteous. Verse 26. And the Lord said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I thy brother's keeper? And the Lord said, The voice of thy brother's blood crieth out unto me from the ground. Now art thou accursed from the earth, for it hath opened to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. In my sight thou shalt be a fugitive and a vagabond upon the earth. And because thou hast shed blood, blood shall not cease to flow from thy sons and daughters forever. Verse 29. Cain said, O Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear, for I am become the first foundation of all the wars on the earth. For thou hast hid thy face from me, and it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth of me in them shall be slain also. Verse 28. And the Lord said unto Cain, Whosoever slayeth thee or thine, vengeance shall be upon him sevenfold. And the Lord wrote upon Cain's forehead the word Asu Gasabin, signifying blood for sake of self, a mark lest anyone finding him might kill him. Verse 29. And from this time forth Cain lost the voice of the Lord, because he went off into darkness, or he went off into Nod, in parentheses, darkness. And Cain took a wife and begot heirs unto himself after his own manner, and they were called Cainites. And the heirs after them were called the tribes of Cainites, which survived him 910 years, after which they were divided into 26 tribes, and the name Cain was lost. But the people survived, and are known to this day as the world's people. Verse 39.